Hello, and welcome to the Pulse of Jonesboro. I am your host, Jeremy Terrell, and thank you for tuning in this week. Wanted to talk a little bit about buzzwords that we've been hearing lately from the mayor and other things, other people that are concerning. And one of those is economic development. And when the city is talking about how they're going to do economic development and all the stuff that they're doing is for economic development, it worries me. And the reason why that is because economic development is supposed to be you and me. It's supposed to be the people. And what the city's supposed to do is provide the infrastructure. For probably the last 10 years or so, maybe a little bit more, there's been these pushes for green areas and green communities. And in that, the push has been, walking communities, smaller communities, tighter communities, basically getting away from automobiles and certain things to become a green community. And the left has really been pushing this for a while now. Lots of money comes with it. Lots of grants come with it. Pete Buttigieg put out a huge grant effort. I think Fort Smith grabbed some of it. I don't know if that's some of the places that we're getting our money from when we do these grant efforts. I don't know if we're going after that money that's already been allocated. I know Trump's in and stuff, but there's already been these grant monies allocated for lots of different things, infrastructure that go to these green communities. And I don't know if that's what's happening. The problem with that, again, is you guys have heard me say it time and time again, that we're a car-dependent community. That means we like our cars. And when you spend so much time on sidewalks and making us a community of pushing us to be a walking community, usually that doesn't go very well. And I get real aggravated at sidewalks. I think sidewalks are great. Like, ever since I can remember being a kid running around neighborhoods and stuff, we never had sidewalks. We ran through yards and down the street, and we were safe for the most part. But Broadmoor, I lived on Broadmoor for a little bit. It had a sidewalk, but we ran in the ditch. It's more fun to run in the ditch. Kids don't do that anymore. But the push for sidewalks is infrastructure and trying to create infrastructure for the future. But the problem is that they're trying to predict the future or push what the future should look like, instead of allowing you and I to be the future and allow them to understand what we want, you and I want. They are saying, we know what's best, and this is what the data says, and we're going to do it because this is what the data says. Well, data's been wrong throughout eternity, and there's no place where you can say the data works everywhere. And you guys have also heard me say that there's plenty of places across the United States that pushed this agenda that is sitting there with a bunch of empty sidewalks and empty bike paths and so forth. One of our big things is we're incredibly hot during the summer. We have mosquitoes and other things that are inhibiting us from getting out in the evening and walking. And, that would be great. We visit places and go to vacation where that's a big thing. But, it's cooler. The bugs aren't there. It just is better to do that. Here it is. We all know it. We see it. I mean, at our church, you have people that move in that are going to school here and do residencies and things like that. Every time they get here, we're talking about, oh my gosh, the summers are hot and da 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 da. And they all agree. And when the summers get here, they're like, oh my gosh, you can't even go outside. And that's true, with the exception of those that are incredibly in shape and weather the atmosphere and don't mind getting sweaty every time they go out. The weather just doesn't produce itself for that kind of stuff. We're not addressing the weather during the summer. We're not putting things aside from the pool that we can't staff and keep open. Aside from the pool on the north side of town, we're not addressing that we are an incredibly hot summer community and giving us the things that allow us to have the break from the weather. And that's what we should be doing and focusing on and doing the things for the people. Instead, we're getting things shoved down our throat. Another term that's very concerning is when they start saying, and I've heard this come from the mayor a couple different times, when they say reimagining safety. Like, reimagining safety, what the heck is that? So I don't want to get away just yet, but we're going to get to that in just a second. But the economic development is the people. And when we drive the economic development, that's when it's successful. When a town or a government is pushing the economic development and they're the ones driving it, a lot of times doesn't look good and doesn't end up good. Currently, that's what's happening. And we've allowed that to go on for a while. You guys have heard me talk about this over and over again, but it is incredibly important to address these things because there's a lot of things that I'm watching and talking with other people in the community and really smart people in the community. And we see these massive gaps going on that don't put us and align us with a positive future. And this is one of them. So we have to start getting back to the will of the people. The will of the people say, quit with the sidewalks, put them around schools, branch out from around schools, quit driving everything downtown. And again, when some people hear me say that, they're like, oh, you're against downtown. I love downtown. I think it's great. Matter of fact, I wish it was cleaner. I wish the striping down the street was better. I wish the plants in the pots and things like that were taken better care of. There's a lot of things downtown that I believe could improve and also improve people going down there. But it's vital to our town for sure. We do not need a downtown like it was several years ago, just falling apart. And the people that sunk tons of time and effort into downtown deserve a ton of credit. Should they get all of our attention? Absolutely not. And that's another thing I'll be talking about here shortly. But so it's very concerning when our government is talking tons and tons and tons about economic development. And when they're the ones just supposed to create the atmosphere that matches the community where economic development, which means, we should be bringing in more factories. We should be bringing in more blue-collar jobs. And do we want every kind of job? Absolutely. But again, we're a blue-collared town, period. It's what we are. What's happened in the last 4 or 5 years has shrunken that quite a bit. And I think and hope that with Trump doing what he's doing brings way more blue-collar working back to the United States, which hopefully opens up a huge door for Jonesboro. We should absolutely be in the mix for tons and tons and tons of new companies, which I don't know if you guys keep up with the national news, but there's tons of companies overseas that are investing billions of dollars into bringing companies over to the United States. And we should make Jonesboro look so enticing for those types of things. And there's a big reason why Jonesboro would be considered, the cost of living. We have an abundance of workers. Wages are good, so forth and so on. There's lots of reasons why we should be looking really good to anybody bringing anything into the United States. And that's what you guys heard me say last time. That's up to the chamber to do their job and to make sure that we are always on the radar for everybody. We've got to, what's crazy is we talk about, reimagining and other things like that. But for Arkansas, minus Fayetteville area, we have, crazy building infrastructure bullcrap. Like, we're making it really difficult. And that's not good. So we need to be better and easier to do good things. We need to make sure that our communities look good and are safe and so forth and so on. But in having rules, obviously, are great, but it doesn't need to be incredibly difficult to put up new business or whatever. And there's tons of stories out there. Just go ask the people that have put in new buildings and renovations and things like that. I mean, it's been really difficult in some cases. And in some cases, it's, to put up a metal building for more storage because their business was growing was an act of Congress, literally. And so we got to do better at that kind of stuff, not so driven by sidewalks that are 6 foot. Yeah, I watched the one of the council meetings talking. A guy was asking for a variance on the sidewalk when both sidewalks to the left and right of him were 5 foot. Now, nothing was directly to the left and right of him, but down a little bit where the sidewalks were, they were 5 foot, and he put in a 5 foot sidewalk, but now he's got to tear it out and put in a 6 foot sidewalk because, the new rules are 6 foot sidewalks regardless. And the problem with that is we got a 6 foot sidewalk that's going to go to 2 5 foot sidewalks. I don't know. It's stuff like that just makes you scratch your head. But again, we've really got to understand and listen when our mayor is talking about things like that and the terms that he uses. And the other term that is really bothering me, and it should bother all of us, is when he says things like reimagining safety. And he has said that a couple of different times, and especially, with the 4 new park rangers that we got. Now, we hired 4 park rangers, and Carol Duncan, our city attorney, said that in a meeting, she said she's the one that is training them. And I'm scratching my head going, our city attorney is training our 4 new park rangers. So what does that mean? What does that look like? Reimagining safety. We all can remember a couple years ago where people wanted to defund the police, and some areas did, and it was an absolute disaster. And I'm not saying that that's what's happening, but I do know that our mayor is pretty far left leaning, and that's where this came from, was like a reimagining public safety. And that's a big X. That's a big freaking no, because every area that defunded the police ended up with massive amount of increase in crime. We're already seeing that. I went and looked at the numbers the other day, and some things are up and some things are down. But, I'm just telling you, 100% do not trust the way that they are putting those numbers in. And again, you guys have heard me say it, and I have asked them in public, and I have brought this up in public. There's tons that they don't even investigate. There's tons that they don't even put down on the books because it's policy within the police department. And then, so you've got that, and then you've got the mayor talking about reimagining public safety. And I don't know, surely they're not saying that these 4 park rangers have policing ability. Like, they haven't gone through any training with the police department. They haven't done any safety. I mean, Carol Duncan doesn't know public safety. I mean, she doesn't know how to handle if something's going on unruly and these park rangers get out to stop it. Like, that's dangerous for the park rangers. That's super dangerous. And, it is one of the first in Arkansas, and it worries me. Like, they're young, the park rangers, and I don't know their true defined purpose. I don't know if any of us do. I don't know if they put it somewhere. I haven't seen it. And I'm not saying that it isn't somewhere. I'm just saying I have not seen their defined purpose and job. Surely it's not to police. And what I've read on what they've posted, that's what it seems like they're supposed to be doing, is policing something. And the parks, Danny Kapalas even said in an interview that this will free up policemen to do more, jobs within the city and not have to be pulled out to our parks. Man, that's so concerning. That surely they're not going to expect these rangers to stop disruptive things that are happening. They're just not trained, and I don't think they're going to have a gun on them or any of that stuff. I mean, I don't know. I sure would love way more understanding of the training that's gone on and what they're doing. What is their job description? If you think that we're moving towards that kind of public safety, you're crazy, because it hasn't worked anywhere in the United States. And we're behind. We're always behind. Jonesboro's always behind. Arkansas's always late to the party of what's going on around the United States. It's like, we see the trend and then we know what's coming in 4 years in Jonesboro and in Arkansas. Man, that didn't work. When everybody was pushing that back, 4 years ago, that didn't work. So surely that's not what our mayor's trying to do. Hopefully this is not what he's trying to do. But it's important for us to listen to the words that are being used. And that is detriment to our area if that's the kind of direction they're trying to go, and do it in a manner that's underhanded and not being honest. So it's going to be real interesting. The mayor told me, during the mayor's race and between the election and the runoff, that he was going to fix the police department. He said that to me, and he's done nothing. So he knows that there's a problem, and again, it's not the policemen. Policemen are fantastic. Some of these people are dear friends of mine. It's the people at the top, and that doesn't mean that the people at the top aren't great people. You guys have heard me say, I think Elliot's probably, his heart's probably huge. He's a great human being, but he knows what I'm talking about. And at some point in time, it has to be addressed. It keeps getting swept under the rug, guys. Keeps getting swept under the rug. And if they don't fix it, and then the mayor's talking about, reimagining, it's scary. It's scary, and the amount of people that keep coming and flooding Jonesboro from different communities to just steal stuff is concerning. And that needs to be a priority number one in the police department, and stop that. So that needs to be a massive focus. A couple of other things that have been really concerning is the neglect of other things. And, like Nettleton got a sidewalk around a school. They wanted to say that the one down Flint was to address like the kindergarten area. And And that's just not true. They did some stuff on Johnson, and you can still drive down Johnson. They put that huge crosswalk up. You can still drive down Johnson and see tons of people just walking down, or crossing the street wherever it is that they want to cross. They're not going down. Some are, but the majority are not going all the way down to this major crosswalk and then crossing it. It's just not happening. So it brings me to another really major part of what I see going on in Jonesboro that's a really bad negative. And that is that we are ignoring major areas of Jonesboro. Just ignoring them. We ignore north of Johnson. We ignore it. We ignore Nettleton area. And we ignore West Jonesboro. We ignore the west part of Jonesboro. We focus on Valley View area, and we focus on downtown. And we focus a little bit on Hilltop. I mean, some good things are going on there, but it still wasn't done up to par before all of this major traffic started happening there. So we're way behind. The mayor's pushing to get us to 100,000 people is going to be, in Jonesboro standards, is going to be crazy traffic problems in those areas. But let's get back to the ignoring. The ignoring that is going on is huge. It's so crazy to me. City council, do me a favor. Next time you vote on putting a lien on people's properties that haven't mowed their property, go find out who they are. Go find out how old they are. Go find out their situation. Go find out their economic problems. Maybe a single mom with small kids that's working all the time and has some significant issues about getting lawns mowed and so forth and so on. And we're putting liens on their places. Man, before you do that, go find out who these people are. I know of one that was given out not too long ago, and the situation is that it was an older couple, and I don't know if they've got the economic ability to get their lawn mowed or whatever. I know that they probably can't do it, and if you miss a couple times, then it's really tall, and can you afford a type of mower that can get it done? Whatever. I mean, there's lots of reasons. But we really should be knowing before you go and vote why they haven't been able to get their lawns done and what's their status. Because if you guys, in my opinion, we should be taking care of our elderly and those that are less fortunate. And if you're doing things that's only making it worse for them, that's wrong. That's wrong as a community, period. So before you go do that, now, don't get me wrong, a bunch of people better not go out there and stop mowing their lawns and say they can't afford it. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying we got to be and understand exactly the situations of why certain things are happening. Are they incredibly elderly? Are they down and out economically? And then with those two things, if we're putting more pressure on our elderly and less fortunate, I just believe that that's wrong. So we need to know that. But with that being said, we ignore these sections of Jonesboro, and they're deteriorating. Code enforcement's huge, but I don't like government. I heard this the other day, and it's 100% correct, guys. You guys need to listen to this. You can't fix government. You can only make it smaller, and that fixes it. Like, we've been expanding as Jonesboro's government. We keep getting bigger and bigger every year. That is not good, period. It's more people getting involved and telling us what to do. And maybe you guys think that that's correct and that's what's supposed to happen, but it's not. A freer society is a better society. Always has been. The United States is a perfect example of that. What we did in the economic boom over and over again was due to freedom. It was not due to more government. And you cannot fix government. There's, Arkansas right now is so jacked up. There's all kinds of things that go on in these so-called Republicans that go and vote for more spending and more this and more that. And it's just, it's very concerning, but we're doing the same things here. And I said Republicans in Arkansas because we're majority Republicans, and that's a good thing in a lot of ways, but they need to act that way. And in our city, I wouldn't say that. I would say in our city, we lean more Democrat than Republican. Well, I know we do quite a bit, actually. They like big government. They like more government to tell us what to do. And not all of them are that way, but we are growing our government, and we got to stop. That's not a good thing. But my goodness, we have the resources, we have all the things that we need to make sure that we're putting enough effort into all the parts of our town. It's mind-boggling that we are spending so much focus on sidewalks, and yet we have areas that are deteriorating in our town. And you guys have heard me say this over and over again. Some of these people believe if you put up sidewalks, it makes things better. Like, people just start doing the right thing. I mean, that's not what they're saying, but in their mind, that's what they think. It's like, build sidewalks. I mean, I've had meetings with these people, and they're like, Jimmy, you don't understand. Look at the cities that are doing this and putting in this and putting in that. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not our community. Look at the communities like us that are doing the same thing, and they're bare because they're out there. There's several in Kentucky that tried to do this. There's several in Missouri. There's several. It doesn't work all the time. And the reasoning is because of weather, because of infrastructure, because of communities, because of buy-in. Jonesboro has not bought into this. And I don't know or think that they're going to buy into this. Unless these extra 20,000 people that the mayor wants to bring in just want to walk. I guess if we have 20,000 walkers because that's what they want to do. Now, we don't want 20,000 walkers because they don't have a job. I mean, and can't afford a car. That's not what we want. Is that what he's wanting? We don't know, because he doesn't communicate. He just spins and says a lot of fluff, puts a spin on everything. But I can tell you, we're ignoring tons and tons and tons in parts of our town, and ignoring a ton of you and me. People that complain, people that call, people that ask for things, and it gets ignored and it gets swept under the rug. And our mayor is really good at ignore, and it'll go away. Case in point, the property they want to buy on Caraway. It overwhelmingly was a no a year ago. Overwhelmingly. Well, let's not say anything about it, and let's just sweep it under the rug for now, and we'll try to squeeze it in next year. And that's what they're doing. They're trying to squeeze it in. It hasn't changed. It's still an overwhelming no, but they're going to shove it. They're going to try to figure out a way at every cost to buy land from the mayor's neighbor at an inflated price. For what? For what purpose? What does that look like? What conclusions can we draw from that? There's only one. So ignore because it wasn't popular a year ago. Oh, wait a minute. We're going to bring it back up. And then if that doesn't go again, oh, wait a minute, we'll bring it back up again after we ignore it. Oh, we'll ignore it for a little bit longer and then we'll bring it back up. We'll let everything deteriorate. We'll let the police department work out of buildings that are falling apart. They are falling apart. I mean, our police department has operated in by far the worst conditions of anybody in Jonesboro that is in the government. It's not even close. They have operated out of bullcrap for 20 plus years. It's crazy. It's crazy. And do I believe that they need to be treated better? Absolutely. Do they need to feel like there's some priority in being a police officer? Absolutely. Do they need to have all of the resources to be the most effective police department in Arkansas? Absolutely. But we don't need to buy overpriced land from our neighbor in order to do that. We just don't. We don't. And we own land. So, what's crazy is this is the scenario, and some of the city council see this, and I hope that they keep in driving this. Chris Moore brought up, hey, we may have to knock down the whole Justice Building. Okay, if that's the case, and we own that land, and we've got to tear this building down because of the structural problems that it has, doesn't that make sense to put a new police department there? We own the land. It's free. It meets all the obligations that we have, that we need. No, let's not do that. Let's put it on Caraway so I can buy some land from my neighbor. It doesn't look right. It doesn't look right. We don't own the land there. We don't. It's about the people. It's about what's best for the people. If you're a police officer, you're in public service. You're a public servant, which means you take what you have, what's been given, and they know up front when they take the job how tough it is, and my gosh, they get all the bad until you need them, and then you call them, and they get all the good. It's a tough job, and we keep treating them ridiculously, but knowing this is a public servant job, and what comes with that is the people decide where they police out of based on what makes sense financially. And I don't mean their pay and their salary, although that's part of it. And I'm a big believer in, let's not take $2 million and buy some property. If we're going to do that, sink $2 million into salaries. We should be the best trained, best paid police department in Arkansas. That's my belief. I mean, that's what I want, because then we'd have, all the best. So instead of putting $2 million into a property that we don't have, that makes no sense other than, we want it on Caraway, we should put it in where we have and own land, and then take that money and do something better with it. Like, I get so sick and tired of our public officials getting up and acting like it's their money. When they had this conversation several weeks ago at a city council meeting, and Street said, well, I want to know what the chief thinks about what property we should be. That's not his job. That is not his job. Street's job is to represent his constituents where he lives. And what do they want? Now, the chief's input is given what you've been given, how effective is that at you doing your job? And if we need to make it more effective in how to do your job, tell us how. But he's supposed to do that based on what he's been given. And that's a tough job. You guys have heard me say it over and over and over again. It's a tough job. Like, very few people can do it correctly. But to ask him if he wants it on Caraway or downtown is not appropriate. It's just not. Because he has nothing to do with our finances. Nothing. He gets a budget, and that's what he's responsible for, is what he can do within those confined spaces of his budget. And, you know, people can get aggravated with me at this, but what I am telling you is the truth. If we allow individuals within our government to determine how to spend our money, it ends up a debacle. It ends up really bad. We should not be allowing individuals that didn't get elected or didn't get put in those positions to define how we spend our money. It's crazy. You know, that's the city council. You define it. And you do it based upon what's best for the citizens. And you do it responsibly. And you do it in a manner that puts us in the best possible place for the future financially. You heard a lot of people say it in the meetings, and maybe you did, maybe you didn't, I don't know, but I'll tell you what was said. It doesn't matter if the police department is downtown or if the police department is on Caraway. Number one, part of the police department is downtown and part of the police department is on Caraway. And it's been like that for a long time. So they're both operating. They've been operating like that. So tear down downtown. We have extra money to do the tear down. It's free. Do it. Build back whatever it is that puts our police department in a good place that they can go and function correctly. It's crazy. Just crazy to me. You know, we do things out of desperation because buildings are falling apart because we've allowed it. We allowed it. Now, I'll give the mayor his due credit. He was given this. Like, he adopted this mess with the police department as far as, well, he adopted all the mess, actually. But, you know, it's his job to fix it. And one of the biggest messes is the locations, you know, and I don't mean where they're at. I mean, they're falling apart. They've been falling apart for years. I mean, it's just pathetic. It's just sad, pathetic how they get treated. So, guys, that's my rant for the week. We need to do better. I want to encourage you guys. Before COVID, city council meetings had tons of people in there. And COVID came. Man, COVID really screwed up a lot of things. Man, people's minds, schools, our kids, and, people getting involved. You know, we got really comfortable at not getting involved. And, I don't know, maybe we'll look back one day and find out that this was all a plan, to get people out of being involved. I don't know. But with all that being said, we got a good couple of people, and I mean a very small few, that go to our city council meetings. Sometimes there's nobody there. And when it used to just be full. And we need to get back to making sure that it's full so that those that are on the council know that we're watching them. And, man, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. Because right now, some of them believe that nobody's watching. And that's not good. So, guys, have a great week. I'm so very thankful for you guys. We are making a difference. And I can't wait to see what the July numbers are, because the June numbers were crazy awesome. So I appreciate you guys. Have a great week. We will see you next week. Everybody stay cool. Enjoy this new weather that we've had over the last couple of days. And God bless.